Costco isn't just a store, it's a phenomenon. It's a business where customers pay for the privilege to shop. Their employees are some of the happiest in retail, and the competition is constantly left scratching their heads wondering how they're getting beat.
We have a responsibility to figure out how little we can make off of a product instead of how much we can make a product.
With over $250 billion in annual sales, nearly 900 warehouses across the globe, and an extremely loyal membership base, this retail giant has mastered a formula few have been able to replicate. But what really sets Costco apart is its relentless focus on simplicity and value. They sell everything from diamond rings to bulk deer meat, all under the same roof. And somehow, they convince people to leave with more than they originally planned to buy. And let's not forget customers' favorite, the $1.50 hot dog combo, a meal that hasn't changed its price since 1985. And they sell over 130 million of these hot dogs each year. Now, in an industry defined by thin margins and cutthroat competition, Costco doesn't simply operate, it dominates. It's the third largest retailer in the US, only behind Walmart and Amazon, both of which largely have Costco's founders to thank for their early success. But I'll get to that in a moment. So how did Costco turn a wholesale shopping warehouse into a cultural and financial phenomenon? Well, the answer lies in a mix of brilliant strategies, a rebellious disregard for conventional retail wisdom, and a history that's rooted in truly respecting their customers. So let's dive into the subtle brilliance behind Costco and why I believe it's the pinnacle of capitalism done right. In some ways, the story of Costco is really about the learnings from the 30+ years of experience in the retail space. Because while Costco was initially founded in 1983, the reason why the business even exists is because of one of retail's most influential people, Saul Price. In fact, Sam Walton, the founder of Walmart, is quoted saying that he stole more ideas from Saul than anyone else in his business career. And he wasn't lying. Sam's Club? Yeah, that was a direct result of a dinner with Saul, where Sam learned the ins and outs of this business model. See, Saul was originally a lawyer, but he turned into a retail visionary who completely disrupted and reshaped the conventional shopping experience. In 1954, he purchased a warehouse in San Diego, California, where he was living at the time, with his mother as the listed buyer. Unsure at what kind of business to run, he ended up renting the space from her as he brainstormed ideas. Now, around this time, a membership-based bulk grocery store called Fedco was gaining popularity. They sold discounted goods exclusively to federal government employees, primarily postal workers. Now, inspired by their model, Saul approached Fedco with a proposal to collaborate and expand their operations into his warehouse. But Fedco declined. They weren't interested. So Saul decided to take the concept and refine it himself. He launched FedMart, a store that sold goods at rock-bottom prices, but required a membership fee to shop, an innovative idea that laid out the foundation for the warehouse retail model. But there was a few reasons why this idea of wholesale warehouse shopping hadn't really been pioneered before. One of which was it previously used to be illegal in the United States to sell goods below the manufacturer's price. The term discounter basically meant you were selling it below that forced retail price. But this law was only for retailers that were open to the general public. So with Saul's legal background, he concluded that if you were a membership club, you technically weren't open to the public. And this is how he sidestepped this barrier at the time and was able to sell below the manufacturer's minimum price. Now, I promise this brief history lesson ties heavily into how Costco is what it is today. FedMart was initially fairly successful, but it needed more capital to expand. So in 1959, FedMart went public on the New York Stock Exchange. And as some years passed, Saul was content with the success he had, and he was ready to explore a sale of the company so that he could retire. And in 1975, FedMart was bought by a German retailer. But the retailer had a different idea on what they wanted to do with the business, and ultimately this led to a falling out between Saul and the new owners. In fact, the German retailer kicked Saul and his son out of the company, and he was enraged by this, so much so that it lit a fire under him to start over and try to take this business model to new heights.
I don't believe that that was his real reason. No, I think he was on an ego trip. I think he figured he was going to become the retailing giant in the world.
So in 1976, he started a new venture called Price Club. He ended up taking some former employees from FedMart, one of which was a man named Jim Sinegal. Now, during this time, that German retailer that purchased FedMart, well, they failed to maintain the success of the company, and as a result, FedMart closed down in 1982. But by now, Price Club was up and running, but it was limited exclusively to business members who could purchase a wide range of supplies and wholesale items. This was for businesses like restaurants, gas stations, or even other smaller stores. Jim Sinegal, who I mentioned previously, had spent years working under Saul at FedMart and Price Club, but he was instrumental in slightly shifting this business model to also include general consumers who weren't a part of a small business. This change is something that completely changed the trajectory of the company over the years, and we of course see it in effect today at Costco. Jim started bagging groceries for Saul back in the day and worked all the way up to become the executive vice president of merchandising, distribution, and marketing. So it's safe to say this warehouse shopping model wouldn't have existed without Saul Price, but it's also safe to say Costco wouldn't be what it is today without Jim Sinegal. Eventually, in 1983, Jim Sinegal teamed up with a man named Jeff Brotman, and they founded Costco in Seattle, Washington. Price Club and Costco eventually merged in 1993, originally called Price Costco, but by 1997, they just changed the name to Costco. Now, this is where we get into some of the really interesting aspects to this business model. Costco is a masterclass in how to do business differently while still succeeding. With nearly 890 stores worldwide, the company posted a staggering $254 billion in revenue in 2024, and an impressive $7.36 billion in net income. But here's the twist. Nearly $4.8 billion of that income comes solely from membership fees, which makes up only about 2% of total revenue, but accounts for more than half of their profits. It's a brilliant, subtle strategy. By charging an upfront fee, Costco locks in customer loyalty and creates a psychological incentive. If you've already paid for the privilege to shop, you're more likely to shop there and then, as a result, spend more. The design of Costco stores plays directly into this psychology. While a store like Walmart focuses on options, having over 150,000 SKUs, Costco operates with just 4,000 SKUs, or sometimes even less than that. This curated approach reduces decision fatigue and allows the company to move products fast. In fact, Costco sells through its inventory over 12 times per year, far outpacing competitors like Walmart at 8 times or Home Depot at 5 times. Now, this high turnover, combined with strategic purchasing agreements, enables Costco to effectively use its suppliers' money to finance operations. Products are often sold before Costco even needs to pay for them. This is because generally companies will pay suppliers on a net 30 basis. But this ends up creating a negative cash conversion cycle. This lets the company operate without heavy reliance on debt. And this is just one of the ways in which they've streamlined their business. Now, there's also the treasure hunt. Costco's inventory is constantly changing, whether it's a pair of running shoes one month or a discounted grill the next. This not only sparks excitement, but also triggers fear of missing out, nudging customers to buy now rather than to wait. It's subtle, but it's a psychological nudge that drives impulse purchases and boosts sales. Costco has a limit on what percentage they will mark items up at, and in their store, it's hard capped at 14%. The exception to this principle is that on their private label brand, Kirkland Signature, they will mark up to 15%. Now, to be clear, these percentages aren't what they increase on every product. It's up to 14 or 15%. Now, if we were to compare that to a typical department store, it's common for them to have a 50 to 100% markup, depending on the product, of course. But even a discounter store like Walmart marks up around 25%. And Jim Sinegal has an amazing quote when it comes to prices. He said, "You could raise the price of, say, a bottle of ketchup to $1.03 instead of $1, and no one would know. Raising prices just 3% per product would add 50% to our pre-tax income. Why not do it? It's like heroin. You do it a little and you want a little bit more. Raising prices is the easy way." What also is super interesting is Costco is not loyal to one specific brand. That's solely because they're constantly looking for the best value for their customers, but also In doing so, this created an opportunity for their own named brand products, known as Kirkland Signature. Kirkland has some wild aspects to it. First of which, when deciding whether to make a private label product, Costco says it has to be as good or better than the other named brands. It also has to save customers at least 15 to 20% on the private label when comparing them to other brands. And Jim is quoted saying that the suppliers that manufacture their private label products often are the same ones that make the name brands. So it's essentially the same exact formula, except Costco is selling them under their own name and for less money. Kirkland Signature alone does more in revenue per year than Nike, by over $1 billion. It's technically the largest consumer packaged good in the world, but that's kind of a misnomer because they sell so many different items. However, most private label items will use different names for different categories, but Costco is like, nah, we're just gonna use the same one. They didn't want to jump through all of these hoops in other countries trying to clear different names for multiple trademarks. And the name Kirkland refers to Kirkland, Washington, where Costco's first office was located. Now, ultimately, what Costco has that others simply don't is this immense amount of leverage from their large number of memberships. And they use this to negotiate with suppliers for the lowest possible prices. And this isn't just only good for their consumers, it has a wide range of benefits. I found Costco's code of ethics extremely interesting, and here they are in order. Number 1, obey the law. Number 2, take care of our customers. Number 3, take care of our employees. And number 4, respect our suppliers. They say if we do these 4 things throughout our organization, then we will achieve our ultimate goal, which is to reward our shareholders. Notice the difference on the words around taking care of their customers and employees, but using the word respect for their suppliers. Now, this is largely due to Costco's track record with how they deal with their suppliers. They are known to be tough but fair with them, and this is ultimately so they can keep prices as low as possible for their customers. Costco doesn't like it when prices increase, because they know that affects their precious business model. They want prices to stay as low as possible because ultimately they make the bulk of their money off of their membership model, not the margins on the goods. And the memberships fuel a volume business, not a margin business. The better the prices equal more volume, which in turn creates more memberships or renewals on memberships, which by the way has an extremely high retention rate, especially for a subscription-based model. Costco's renewal rate is over 90%, which is just insane. And I think this speaks to the level of value that Costco provides to their customers over and over again. Even Costco's workforce is part of this magic though. With an average hourly wage of $26 compared to Walmart's $19.50, Costco also offers perks like robust 401k plans, excellent healthcare, and a strong promote from within culture. I mean, they literally promote nearly 100% from within. Costco has built one of the most loyal employee bases in all of retail. Turnover among hourly workers is a mere 7% after 1 year. Compare that to the industry average of about 20%. Now, this loyalty doesn't just cut costs, it reduces shrinkage, which is a term for lost or stolen items, which sits at a remarkably low 0.15% of sales, and thus creating a stronger customer experience. They have vice presidents of the company who began their career as a grocery bagger. And I gotta say, I love this for them. They also don't advertise, it's all word of mouth. Costco's brilliance lies in its ability to combine simplicity, efficiency, and psychology into a model that seems too good to be true. But it isn't. Because by doing less, they manage to achieve so much more. It's the ultimate paradox. And this isn't just a business model that benefits customers by delivering value, or even benefiting suppliers by moving inventory quickly. It's a strategy that has worked for everyone involved, employees, customers, and yes, even shareholders. Costco's approach is a rare example of capitalism at its best.
Don't you view yourself as something of a renegade?
Well, of course. I mean, first of all, paying high wages is contrary to conventional wisdom.
And conventional wisdom in this case is Wall Street. Analysts seem to be the only critics of Costco and Senegal. They think the company could make even more money if it paid its workers less.
Wall Street is in the business of making money between now and next Tuesday. We're in the business of building an organization, an institution that we hope will be here 50 years from now. And paying good wages and keeping your people working with you is very good business.
Proving that a company doesn't have to exploit its workers or customers to achieve massive success. Costco stock has done extremely well over the years. If you were to have bought a share of Costco stock 10 years ago in 2014, it would have cost you around $140 a share. Today, however, that same share would be worth nearly $1,000. That's an increase of over 600%. I actually had a guy recommend Costco stock to me years ago, and I really wish I took him up on it. Now, even in spite of Costco's model being proven to work in other countries around the globe, which I should add came as a surprise to many, Costco does face some potential problems in its future. Competition like BJ's Wholesale Club on the East Coast, Sam's Club, and Walmart, as well as e-commerce websites like Amazon, are all competitors of Costco, and some of these companies do yield advantages in certain sections of their business, particularly in e-commerce. It's estimated that the median age of a Costco member is around 50 years old. Some analysts would argue that they would want that age to be a bit lower. Costco has had to also make more of an effort over the years towards sustainable practices and adding organic food options to reach more of the millennial customer base. But as of recently, they've made a real effort to crack down on membership sharing, similar to Netflix's password sharing enforcement. They did this while raising the price of their memberships recently. The standard Gold Star membership was raised from $60 to $65, and their executive membership was raised from $120 to $130. Now, this was the first price increase they had taken in over 7 years. But subscription fatigue is becoming a real thing, and we're being inundated with more subscriptions now than ever before. So while Costco's membership seems like a great deal for their customers, there's no doubt it will have to continue battling with other subscription models today. Now, I recently covered the insane business behind the $1.5 trillion subscription economy and how it's becoming more and more troublesome. If you want to learn about it, check it out in this video next. Thanks for watching.